Let's talk about the history of the club with Peter Kenny-Jones, who is a football historian and also the host of the Football Historian podcast. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. I know you're not a Newcastle fan. We should point that out at the moment. You are a Liverpool fan. But how significant is this win in the history of Newcastle?
Yeah, I'm putting rivalries aside. Look at the football history aspect of this, and of course, it's an absolutely massive day. And to see the way that the city's celebrating. If you look back, to the 50s when they won 3 FA Cups in the space of 5 years, back to back in one period, and then 55 was the last one. For them, at that period, if you'd have told any Newcastle fan you're going to go 70 years till you get another domestic trophy, you'd have been laughed at that stage. But that's why these celebrations are so big today. Obviously, in the 60s, they go on to win the Interfairs trophy, which was a European trophy, and that is certainly significant. But Newcastle, as a one-club city, they're absolutely massive. So look at the pictures you can see now. For them to only be celebrating their first domestic trophy in 70 years, it's not right, and therefore they have every reason to celebrate as much as they are doing. You look at the legends that you've already mentioned and spoke about, Alan Shearer, Kevin Keegan, Bobby Robson. They weren't the ones who ended, this trophy drought. It's this new team, and that's why these will go down in history. And I think there's going to be a real sense of, they really hope it isn't going to be another 70 years until this all happens again. But there's got to be a real sense of everyone there, young and old, soak this moment in, because there is no guarantees in football that anything like this could ever happen again, and they certainly deserve it.
Why do you think there was such a drought for them?
There's many, many different reasons. As big as Newcastle are, they're not the biggest footballing institution in the country, and it's hard to win trophies against the likes of Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City in modern times. However, the size of the club certainly means there should have been more fights, more getting involved in more trophy runs, whatever. But mismanagement, financial constraints, competition from other big teams. The Mike Ashley reign will be certainly looked at in the modern era, and as much as they may go into the morality of the new owners, there's certainly the financial backing and the support and the appreciation of their fan base. They're not getting called the sports director either anymore. They're not trying to get rid of the Shearer statue. There's an appreciation of what this club is, and moving forward, they've been able to get into the Champions League a couple of months ago. They got to the final a few years ago in the League Cup, and now they've won a trophy. And it took a long time. It took some players to not be able to do it, but all these little changes and these big players that they've got now, the singing Alexander Isak's name, he's certainly a massive reason. You need the right players, the right manager, the right backing, and the right time, and then obviously you win a massive game again. Being way favourite for him.
Yeah, you mentioned the right manager. Just how critical has Eddie Howe been to this, and what is it about him that has meant that he's been able to bring all the players together to produce this win?
Well, of course, there's many little things that he's done. You look at what he did at Bournemouth. He was given full control of that club, and he took them through the leagues. Newcastle given the platform to try and make them step up, and listen, he did a great job, got them into the Champions League. There were somebody's at the start of this season, whether he'd taken them as far as he could, but he's taken stock, and they played at Anfield a few weeks before the final, changed the tactics a bit, didn't play Alexander Isak, and probably give on slots the idea that they weren't going to be as strong in the final. But instead, their whole game plan for a good month was, how do we win this final? Eddie Howe knew how important this game was. The Carabao Cup might be laughed at by some supporters of bigger teams. If you win it, it's not a big trophy. But I look at those scenes now and tell anyone that this isn't a big trophy. Eddie Howe has managed to get his team to that position, and he's realised again, maybe they lost a couple of league games in the run-up, but the main idea was to win the cup final. They're going to do a repeat of the United final at Wembley a couple of years ago. They had to win, and Eddie Howe did that, and they outplayed the best team in the country at the moment comfortably and deserved the victory.
If you are just joining us, we've got these helicopter pictures of the scene at Town Moor, where you can see that there are, they reckon, around 150,000 Newcastle United supporters who are gathered around that stage. Talking to Peter Kenny-Jones, who's a football historian. Looking ahead, Peter, how important now we've had the win in the Cup, which, as we've been talking to all of the fans, they are overjoyed about, but now their attention is turning back to the league and the fact that they want that top 5 finish to enable them to get the Champions League football.
Yeah, that's what these things are about. There's the Carabao Cup, the League Cup, whatever it's been called. It either acts as the springboard to attack the rest of the season, or there's a hangover from the jubilation of what followed. So, we're speaking there about how important Eddie Howe's been. It's now his job to say, soak this moment in, but this is the first one, this isn't the last one. You have to make sure it happens again. And they got to the Champions League the other year. I think the atmosphere they had against PSG at St James's Park was massive. And he'll be saying that to them all. There's a real chance that they can get into Europe here. And as I say, if you can turn up at Wembley, win a trophy against a team who's top of the league, they can beat anyone at the moment. And they've just got to galvanise their spirit now and go, last time we got in the Champions League, it was just the fact we were there, it was great. Last time we were in the Cup final against United, it was the fact we were there, it was great. However, they took the next step against Liverpool, won the Cup, and now they're going to try and make the next step in the Champions League. And, they definitely got the financial backing. It's just playing within the PSR rules to make sure that their team's competitive enough to go and win more trophies and be a real force in the country and in Europe, because if you look at the size of the fan base and the club, they certainly deserve that and have the facilities to do that.
You, as I mentioned, are a Liverpool fan, so I have to ask you, how did you feel 2 weeks ago?
I don't think I'd be able to do this chat 2 weeks ago. I was there at Wembley, and it was a bit of a different experience at the other side, especially been to all the last finals where we beat Chelsea every time. But you walked around London that day, and as I say, Liverpool fans maybe have criticised each other of not wearing club colours, but everyone who was a Newcastle fan had a Newcastle shirt on, and looking at their end. For us, we're hoping to win the Premier League. For them, that was their World Cup final, the Champions League final. It was everything, and their team played like their fans, and they deserved it. We all walked out obviously very disappointed, but if there was a team to lose to, that probably wasn't the worst one, and you can see the joy it gives them, and they deserve that joy rather than us winning another trophy. But make sure we win the league, that's all right.
Yeah, okay. Finally, just put into perspective for people who may not be a football fan, we mentioned that it is the Carabao Cup at the moment, but officially it's the EFL Cup. The history of the cup.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not the FA Cup, it's not the old traditional English trophy, but it was an extra trophy brought in, and it certainly has prestige. We look at Man City winning the 4 trophies last year, the quadruple. It's a key part of that. I'd say it's the 4th biggest trophy in the country, which makes it sound like it's not very good, but if you want to be a top team, you have to be winning all the competitions and fighting on 4 fronts. It's something that's discussed so often, and this has been around since the 60s. It's definitely been a big trophy in an important way for maybe other teams to win a trophy as well, and it's important. We saw West Ham in the Conference League, we saw Swansea win this competition years ago. It's important that other teams get to win trophies, because England is a massive country in terms of football, but not everyone gets the chance to be winning. So this can hopefully be a platform for Newcastle to go on from, and that's what a lot of other teams have used this as. They show that we can win trophies and we can be one of the best teams in the country.
Peter Kenny-Jones, football historian and host of the Football Historian podcast. Thank you very much for your time here on BBC News and for being so gracious, being a Liverpool fan and supporting the Newcastle fans out on the streets today. Thank you very much for your time. You're with BBC News.